The president did an interview with 60 Minutes overnight on the event itself and the investigation. There was one question he really did not like. Let's get to CNN chief media analyst Brian Stelter for the latest on this. Good morning to you. Long time no see.
Yeah, hey, good morning. Axios put it really well this morning. It said one uncomfortable question was all it took for President Trump to resume hostilities with the media. Here is that exchange with CBS's Norah O'Donnell from last night.
He writes this quote, "Administration officials, they are targets." And he also wrote this, "I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes." What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. You should be ashamed of yourself reading that, because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and I
these
was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace.
I want to tell you two things about that. Number one, this is President Trump as we've always known him. This is not surprising. What was surprising was that on Saturday night, he was calm and respectful. He showed, a different demeanor toward the press corps. People wondered if that was going to last. Now we know it's not going to last. His final post on Truth Social before the dinner was attacking the New York Times, and now he's mad at CBS. I also want to note that CBS is owned by Paramount, which is trying to buy WBD, the parent company of CNN. On Thursday night in Washington, Paramount held a dinner honoring the Trump White House. The president was there. Norah O'Donnell was reportedly there as well. I don't know that for a fact, but it was reported that she was there. So there was this report about schmoozing between CBS and Trump. And yet, on Sunday night, a tough, important, fair interview by CBS of the president, one the president bristled at. Just want viewers to notice that as you read about Paramount trying to take over CNN.
Can you talk about leading up to the dinner, what was going on between Trump and CBS?
It's been a long, tenuous relationship, Audie. CBS's parent company, Paramount, is seeking regulatory approval to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, which is also the parent company to CNN. And leading up to that, a lot of outsiders believe that CBS News and Paramount made certain concessions to be able to ensure that they could be in Trump's good graces to get that regulatory approval. So, for example, they settled for $16 million, a $20 billion lawsuit that legal experts believe they could have won with the president. They canceled Steve Colbert's show, which they said was for financial reasons. And then they hired this woman named Bari Weiss. They acquired her website, The Free Press, and put her in charge of CBS News. And people feel like all of these moves were done to placate the administration. So then for Donald Trump to come out now on live air and bash 60 Minutes, it's a really great example of the fact that you could do everything that you want to try to game this system, to try to develop a strong relationship with the president. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it serves him to continue to call the mainstream media fake news and bash the press.
At the same time, he talked pretty positively about the dinner experience itself, kind of before the attack. And it did seem like somehow CBS, especially with the White House Correspondents Dinner president being from CBS, had opened a door to him for the White House press corps for a relationship that has been so acrimonious.
Donald Trump is an opportunist. He is one of these people who understands very well how to work the media to be able to get what he needs out of the media. And as a result of that, he can have it both ways. He can say that this was becoming a very, improved relationship on one end. And then when it doesn't serve him, when he's being tossed a question he doesn't like, just revert back to the talking points that the mainstream media is fake news and that they're not nice to conservatives. And so that's the reason you're going to always see that polar response. He's done that in so many different situations. I think one thing that the president does very well, he picks his moments where he knows that unity is a winning message, not just for him, but for the entire country. And in a moment where there's potentially a very serious attack, he knew that that was the moment to continue on this message of unity, as opposed to continuing on this message of fighting between the press corps and his administration.
The context to this, frankly, is the relationship between the Trump administration and CBS, the lawsuit they settled with him, the Ellisons and their purchase with Paramount. And I have to say, they had many tables directly in front of the room, and it seemed like a warm relationship.
When they had a dinner last Thursday where the president attended with David Ellison. They also have a regulatory process approving the merger going through, which the president and his advisors have said they're looking at very closely.
So it wasn't a
depending on the
surprise
content.
that the 60 Minutes interview was like
The
it
one they
wasn't
went to.
Fox. Yeah,
That's
it
right.
was this. So what do you make of how it played out?
Look, I think people have to. I think people have learned this. You discount the way the president talks to the press, to any adversary, to any friend, because he's constantly transactional, and he will flip on a dime. I mean, he's insulted, I'm sure, everyone here at this table at some point. He's also been, nice to us at other points. That interview, if you watch the full unedited version, goes on another 20, 30 minutes. They kind of get back into a rhythm
It's
again.
not like he walked out.
It's
or
not like he
something
walked
that.
out again. Yeah.
What struck me is that it's not unusual for the president to lash out on the issue of Epstein. Like when I have seen these moments where he might have insulted a reporter in a really striking way, it's often around this issue. And is it still a sensitive issue?
I think just you do see just the uncomfortableness that whenever this topic comes up, and I think we should say here that he has never been, accused of any wrongdoing in this manner. But the problem is the issue of Jeffrey Epstein has remained a political problem for the Trump administration, particularly as we started to get the files out. We see just the close ties that we have had with Jeffrey Epstein and kind of the elite circles of the world, and which is also why that statement from Melania Trump a few weeks ago was shocking, because
she mentioned with the UK royal coming, these questions are going to come up again.
So it's all in this ether right now.
Francesca, can I come to you? Because as you mentioned, you've actually sat on the board for the White House Correspondents Dinner. They've talked about rescheduling it. Do you think this relationship has improved?
Between the president and the press corps.
media.
I mean, look, the president does take questions on a regular basis from the press corps, including the other night when he got up at the podium and held the briefing.
And he's making phone calls to you.
Sure, he's making, well, I don't know, in your case, I think you're calling him.
I'm calling him. But he's picking up.
But also with Caroline Leavitt expected to go out on maternity leave, we're expecting to see the president, the vice president, other officials up at the podium so we could see the president himself personally brief in the coming days. The opportunity to be able to ask the president questions about this moving forward, as well as other administration officials, as we try to, piece together these security measures, will be really important for journalists. We're all trying to do our job in there too, and hold folks accountable.
And the question we were talking about here is, what does it mean to have an adversarial relationship, which is a defining aspect of being in the fourth estate, versus an acrimonious one? Maybe there's no difference.
Right. I mean, we have an adversarial relationship with every president. That is the job. That is what the Constitution laid out. I have to point out here that the White House and the president banned the Associated Press for the words that we use from the press pool, and our legal fight continues. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Yeah.
But the president has had just whether this is. I mean, I know we've been talking about whether this is a turning point. I think that this has kind of been his posture towards the press for some time, right?
Yeah.
Like he and the broader.
But it's an inflection point,
right,
given
right.
that.
He makes us into a foil, and he sees a political advantage to that.
But the public also hates it, frankly. The comedians who come roast not just the president, but everyone in the room. It's become a symbol of something, and maybe not a symbol of something so good. So do you think it's an inflection point?
I think what will happen is the dinner will be held again. I don't know if it'll be in 30 days or not. And the president will try and use it again. I mean, the first time I've heard him celebrate the First Amendment sincerely was right afterwards in the briefing room, where he says, this wasn't about the press, this was about the First Amendment, this is about the rights of free speech. It's a tricky relationship. It is adversarial, but it's also true that our job is to build relationships with the people the American people elect. We build relationships of trust with these people so we can get information from them so that we can deliver it to the American people. And so the fact that we socialize with them or go to events with them, I mean, that is the job of reporting. Now, whether we should be wearing black tie or, in the case of the gridiron white tie, I mean, that's a separate conversation. But I don't think there's anything wrong with reporters working in Washington covering the White House, socializing or talking with White House officials outside of work.
And just to add on to that, yes, exactly. It is our job, all of us at this table, to ask questions that are in the public interest of these administration officials and continue to hold them accountable.
Well, we'll see if the relationship changes.